Welcome back. Continuing our special coverage for the Russia-Africa Summit and Economic Forum. We are joined over the phone by Ambassador Amb.Reda Farahat, the former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Ambassador Reda, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Ambassador Farahat, how do you see the importance of hosting the first Russia-Africa Summit and Economic Forum for Russia and Africa?
Well, this is a model that has been going on, that major powers having summit conferences with a group of nations, mainly the African. We have seen the Franco-African Summit Conference. Also, China has a similar speech, Japan, and so on. I think this is an exercise of soft power, bringing together the heads of state and providing a forum for consultations, not only for the official level, but also bringing together potential investors and offering them with opportunities to invest. Of course, as with relation to Egypt, we can talk a lot about the historical perspective, the ongoing cooperation, the High Dam project, the heavy industries. Russia, the former Soviet Union, helped us with, and now we have the Daba reactor, and Russia is going to provide the fuel for it to train our personnel, and also there is the question of the industrial zone, Russian industrial zone.
Indeed.
In the Suez economic zone, and also rehabilitating the mega project of the 60s.
Yes. Ambassador Farahat, of course, many opportunities and many agreements are expected to be tackled during the summit, of course, between Russia and the African states participating. From your point of view, what are the opportunities that Russia is offering through this gathering?
Yes. Trading African caps, transfer of technology, increasing the volume of trade, and repatriation of major projects.
Yes.
And as you have heard from Chairman Putin, he highlighted the importance of the economic zone, Russian industrial zone in the Suez. So you have the importance of helping Africa with the extraction industries and so on and so forth.
Yes. Ambassador Farahat, earlier the military and technical cooperation were among the areas of interaction between Moscow and the different African nations. From your point of view, are there any plans in the summit to enhance the talks of military cooperation between Africa and Russia?
Yeah, it is mentioned that there is a plan for a major cooperation project between Russia and the Ivory Coast. And earlier, Egypt had a deal of in the value of $3.5 billion of Soviet arms. So also we have the question, as I mentioned earlier, of the transfer of technology and training drills, joint exercises. Many of our patriots, they received their training in Russia.
Yes.
And pilots, commanders, later to. So what we could envisage is a three. We could think of a tripartite cooperation with Russia, Egypt, and the Africans, bringing together and pooling their efforts for the enhancement of the African continent, the sustainable development, and so on.
Yes. Ambassador Reda Farahat, the former assistant to the foreign minister, thank you very much, sir, for your precious input and for being our guest. And our dear viewers, that would bring us to the end of our special coverage for the Russian-Africa summit taking place in the resort of Sochi in Russia. And we'll leave you with this report about the cultural cooperation between Egypt and Russia. Culture Ministry expressed hope that the cultural cooperation between the two countries would increase in the coming period, particularly after signing a joint strategic cooperation agreement and designation of the 2020 as Year of the Egyptian-Russian Cultural Cooperation. Our dear viewer, that was Mahisti Rabia, and I'm leaving you with this report about the Russian-Egyptian Cultural Cooperation.
The cultural dialogue between Egypt and Russia dates back to before the 20th century. Many of the major contributors to Egyptian cinema and theater studied in Russia or were deeply influenced by Russian mentors. In ballet and painting, a similar connection is also clear. In the theater, Egyptians have been performing Chekhov for over 60 years. Writer and playwright Rashad Rushdie produced a unique translation of Chekhov's one-act farce, The Proposal, in Egyptian colloquial Arabic. The play captures how Chekhov's best Russian jokes are quite similar to the Egyptian sense of humor at heart. Among the most treasured works of Egyptian cinema are the local film adaptations of Anna Karenina, The Brothers Karamazov, and Crime and Punishment. Gogol's The Government Inspector was also adapted to a widely celebrated television series directed by the 20th century film director Hossein Eddin Mustafa. Incidentally, the soundtracks of the many films of Egyptian audience wholly enjoyed were strongly affected by Russian music. Film director Ahmed Ghanim said that most professors at the Higher Institute of Cinema in the 1970s and 80s have arrived from Russia after receiving scholarships there. He added that an entire generation of cinematographers and directors was educated in Russia, including those who are active until today, such as actor and director of photography Tariq al-Tilmisani, as well as Shawqi Ali, a former dean of the institute. The late award-winning, internationally acclaimed film director Youssef Chahine directed Once Upon a Time on the Nile, a Russian-Egyptian film about the high dam that Time magazine referred to as epic in 2008 profile on Shahine's published following his death. Rania Yahya, a professor at Cairo Academy of Arts, which holds the Cairo Conservatoire and Higher Institute of Ballet, makes note of a similar marker for Egyptian music to that which Ghanim notes exist in filmmaking, saying that Academy follows the Russian school in terms of instruction. A heavy reliance on Russian instructors and professors was clear with an existing community of Russian professors an instructor operating within the institution until today. Yahya said that scholarships to Russia were all too common for the promising musicians who became well-known icons, explaining that this was also the case at the Higher Institute of Ballet.